you're going through a really tough time in your relationship or marriage with your husband, then there's a good chance that these 4 mistakes are creeping into your marriage and are destroying the very feminine traits that he loves the most. Now, before I dive in and explain these, make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click on that bell notification as well, so that every week you get access to my latest videos where I talk you through a little bit more about how to go about saving your marriage, what to do to be able to heal from infidelity, and also really learning the depths of male psychology as well, so that you can really connect with your husband or partner in a much better way. Now, when marriages or relationships are going through a difficult time, the reality is that both parties are in complete survival mode. Often what's happened is there have been problems for a period of time. They've started to stack and stack and stack over time, and then you almost get that sort of compound effect situation where there is exponential pain. There are often little things that happen and it's like, yeah, it's a bit annoying and it's not that big a deal though, and then you have one of those and another and then another and then another, and then before you know it, it almost feels like, I hate being around this person, this relationship has completely changed and I want to go and spend time somewhere else. I want to go and hang out with my buddies, I want to go play sports, whatever it is. And it's often because of the stacking of behaviors over a period of time. What we need to understand though is what's actually driving a lot of those survival-based behaviors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you 4 mistakes that I see happening a lot in relationships or marriages. And by understanding these 4 mistakes, you can start to create some changes for the better. Now, the first behavior that I often see is where the individual succumbs to the ego. Now, I'm a big believer that we have 2 parts of ourselves. We have our ego and we have our spirit. Our spirit comes from love. Our spirit is authentic, is real, is true to who we are. You know, when we came into this world, we were authentic, we were pure, we were vulnerable. But over time, as each year goes on, we have to adapt. We have to learn to adapt to our surroundings, to adapt to the people that we're raised by, to adapt to the environment that we're in, and so on. And so therefore, what we do is we develop a personality. We develop a way of being. And if you can imagine that over each year, there are more and more refinements, more and more changes, more and more behaviors that start to form the sense of identity that we have, which we call the ego. Problem is though, is that often our ego is a collection of all of these different behaviors that haven't really served us. Let's say when you were younger and there was a moment where you shouted out in public for some reason, and then your mother or father says, shh, be quiet, don't say that, don't act like that. And let's say that sort of feedback was provided on a regular basis, then often what can happen is the child can then go, all right, it's wrong for me to speak up in public or be loud in public and so on. I have to learn to be quiet. And so what we do is we've shut down that part of us that kind of wanted to be like that, but we got the negative feedback. So then what we do is we overcompensate and we say, all right, well, the part of me that needs to be operating here is the quiet one. I've got to be the good girl or the good boy or whatever it is. And so we adapt ourselves. Now the issue is that once we get into relationships always bring out our deepest fears, our deepest insecurities. So often when another person is acting in a certain way, let's say they are acting in a very loud and kind of obnoxious way, we're going to get angry at them because we've actually shut off a part of ourselves. We've rejected that part of ourselves. So when we see it in someone else, we don't like it. So then we might react to that. We might get annoyed. We might get frustrated. Now these are simple examples. There are so many patterns that we need to be aware of. And all of these patterns that we run are essentially what we call the ego. It's a collection of beliefs, behaviors, aspects of ourselves that we've shut down or overdeveloped and so on. And that is how we often operate, rather than learning to operate from our spirit, from a place of love. And if we can learn to step more into spirit, where we're actually coming from the heart, where we're actually asking ourselves, okay, what's going through that person's mind at this moment in time? How can I empathize with what they're going through? How can I really learn the motivations behind their behaviors and so on, rather than judging, rather than critiquing, rather than always being harsh on them and so on? Then that can really change things as far as our connection with that person. And they start to feel that as well. You know, we all know what it's like when someone actually cares and shows empathy towards us, but equally, when we are harsh or critical or judgmental and so on, we pick up on that as well. Secondly, to expand on the first point, acting from fear rather than love. You know, fear is such a crippling force in our lives. But to be honest, like, fear on some level is actually okay. You know, if we didn't have any fear, then we'd just be running across the road when cars are coming by, or, you know, we'd just go and make reckless decisions. And we don't want to be reckless with anything. But I believe when it comes to personal relationships, we need to be coming more from a place of love. You see, when we come from love, we make beautiful decisions. We really come from the heart. We're caring about the other person. We're thinking in our minds, okay, what are they going through and how can I support them on that? What are they needing at this moment in time? And sometimes that might actually be having a tough conversation with them. That might be being direct with them. Love doesn't always mean fluffy, warm fuzzies all the time. It often can mean saying the right thing and doing the right thing because you care about that person. So we've got to take more action from a place of love. And you know, you can just ask yourself that question with any type of behavior that you're engaging in. Are you coming from fear or are you coming from love? And you know, there have been times in my marriage where my wife has had to come from a loving place but being direct with me. And that is the greatest gift. To me, I found myself reacting and responding better because there was a level of authenticity and sincerity and love with her communication. Now, a point I wanted to make here, I sometimes hear from clients who are dealing with, you know, emotional or physical abuse and so on, which breaks my heart. And one of the things they often say is, oh, but I love my husband. And if I'm coming from a loving place, then does that mean I just let him do these things to me and so on? Absolutely not. You know, part of the journey is about knowing the difference between love and wisdom. You know, we can love that person, but we still have to be wise about our circumstances. If you've experienced this kind of behavior on, say, a regular basis, then it's about saying, okay, well, I need to also love myself in this situation. I need to expand who I am as a person. I need to find the courage to, you know, potentially walk away or, you know, get the help that I need in order to get myself out of that environment. And we've got to know that difference. And it doesn't even have to be an extreme situation like that. It could be, you know, just a challenging time in your relationship where maybe you guys don't know how to communicate much. You still have to learn to be wise. And there is a certain art form to that. And it obviously depends on certain circumstances and situations. If you are a little bit stuck in your situation, make sure you comment below and I'll make sure I respond to all of you about your circumstances. But the short of it is, come from love, be wise, and you'll often find that the masculine energy in him will actually respond way better to it. Now, the third mistake that I often see with some of the clients that I work with is that they often find themselves being inauthentic. In other words, they are not staying consistent to who they actually are. They are basically operating from an overdeveloped aspect of their personality. What this means is that if we've developed habits from a younger age, if we've become a people pleaser, for example, if we're always just trying to get attention all the time because maybe we were starved of that when we were younger, if we're being really, really shy and quiet, but there's a part of us that actually wants to break out of that mold, but we're afraid of being rejected and so on, then we're being inauthentic. We're not being real to ourselves. And that has a load of other consequences, not just in terms of the actions that we take and how people perceive us, but also if we're being inauthentic, what we're doing is we're holding on to a lot of our own wounds. And that can sometimes, if you believe in the idea of psychosomatic illnesses, which I very much do, you know, often we can hold on to a lot of this pain and then that can manifest itself in terms of physical illnesses and dis-ease and all those sorts of things. So we've got to step more into our authenticity. And I remember years ago running a survey with about 100 different men and asking them what did they admire the most about either their partner or what did they admire most when it came to dating. And the vast majority of them all talked about not being with fake people, being with authentic people. And I believe human beings at the core of us, we have good bullshit detectors. We know when people are being real. We know when people are being fake. And, you would have had experiences yourself where you may have come across someone and there was a party that just went, something just doesn't feel quite right. They felt a little bit fake. And then you come across other individuals and you just know that there is a purity to their soul and authenticity about them. And you want to connect with them. You want to spend more time with them. And what we really need to be doing in relationships is being more authentic, more realness. And that's what we want to do. Relationships are about helping us grow. It doesn't mean that at this moment in time when you speak in that way that you're going to get the response that you need. But if you do this consistently over time, then this becomes a sense of who you are. Your authenticity will shine. And not only he will pick up on that, but everyone else in your life will also pick up on it. And they're going to like that. Now, there might be some challenges from time to time, because if we're used to operating a certain way and then suddenly we bring this authentic version to ourselves and we display that, people are going to go, what's going on here? Like, this just seems a bit weird. Or maybe you've come across someone who is, maybe we're a little bit more manipulative and so on. They're going to be a little bit sort of taken back by what's actually going on. It's going to throw up some challenges on their front as well. But it's very, very important to stay true to that, to be authentic. It is such a beautiful thing when you can do that. And I've seen relationships flourish and go to completely new heights because both parties are maintaining that. Now, the fourth mistake that I often see in relationships is when the female partner just starts to shut down and close off completely, where there is no vulnerability, there is no openness, there is no speaking of the truth. It is just a complete shutting down of everything. Now, there is a huge range of different behaviors across human beings, and not everyone is going to align with this kind of behavior. But if you can learn to really open yourself up, not be afraid to speak your truth, to have the courage to share what's actually going on the inside, knowing the right moments to share those, but having the courage to do so, not being afraid to ask for help from him. Very important to be able to do that, because once again, when there's more openness, when there's more authenticity, then he's going to connect with that in so much more of a deep level. And when we're talking about good men here, like proper good men love openness, because what that means for him is that he is significant enough. He is held in that higher level that you will completely open to him on all levels. And that's a beautiful thing. That makes him feel significant. That makes him feel special and unique and so on. And that's what men are looking for. They want to be in that environment. Because, the reality is that throughout history, men have gone out to hunt and to be the gatherer and so on. And when he doesn't feel like that, when he doesn't feel like he is a man within himself, he's going to start to feel that level of emasculation on the inside. That then is going to lead to him shutting down also, and you're going to get frustrated because he's shutting down, and then you're shutting down, and then it becomes this situation when there's no connection whatsoever. So it's important for you on some level to take the lead there, really allow yourself to completely open up on all levels, and as you do that, things will really start to shift. So I hope all of this makes sense. If you've liked this video, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And do let me know if you've got any questions or comments or anything like that. Please write them in the comment section below, and I'll make sure I respond to every single one of you. Now, working through challenges in your relationship is a really, really difficult thing. Working through your own shifts emotionally and mentally is a very difficult thing. So what I'd encourage you to do is just check out this video above, and what it'll explain to you is a little bit more about how to actually heal on an emotional level, because I believe that that's the real foundations to really transforming your relationship as well. So check out that video above, and God bless, and I'll talk to you in the very next video.